As you settle into the quiet of this moment, let your mind drift across centuries and continents to the vibrant, bustling world of the Aztec Empire around the year 1500. Picture a city like Tenochtitlán, its canals shimmering under the sun, its markets alive with the hum of voices and the scent of maize and cacao. This is not a tale of warriors or emperors, but of ordinary people, farmers, artisans, and traders whose lives were shaped by the rhythms of a complex society. Their days were filled with labor, ritual, and the constant pulse of survival in a world both beautiful and unforgiving. There's no hurry here, no need to cling to the details. Let the sounds of a distant market, the rustle of reeds, and the murmur of a crowd wash over you like a gentle breeze across a lake. Close your eyes, if you wish, and let this journey into the Aztec world carry you toward rest. Tonight, we'll explore 10 facets of life in the Aztec Empire, each a glimpse into the daily struggles, joys, and intricacies of ordinary people. From the chaotic markets to the quiet fields, from the weight of tradition to the fleeting moments of connection, we'll move slowly, savoring the textures and smells of a civilization that thrived in the heart of Mesoamerica. Let's begin by stepping into the heart of an Aztec market, where the challenges of daily life reveal why survival was no simple feat. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of Tlatelolco, the great market of Tenochtitlan. In 1500, the air is thick with the scent of roasted maize, blooming flowers, and the faint tang of sweat. The market is a sea of color, and sound vendors call out, their voices rising over the chatter of thousands, while canoes glide through nearby canals laden with goods. As an ordinary Aztec, a farmer, a weaver, or a porter, you're here to trade, to barter, to survive. This is no gentle stroll. The market is a test of wits and endurance, a place where you'd struggle to keep up. Let's wander through this world, letting its rhythm settle in your mind like the steady beat of a drum. Your day begins early, before dawn, in a small adobe house on the city's edge or a rural village nearby. The walls are smooth, plastered with lime, and the floor is packed earth, cool under your bare feet. You rise from a reed mat, pulling on a simple cotton loincloth, or if you're a woman, a wraparound skirt and hoopel, a sleeveless blouse woven with patterns of red and blue. Breakfast is modest, a tortilla, perhaps with beans or a chili paste, eaten quickly by the light of a small fire. The taste is earthy, the chili sharp, waking your senses for the day ahead. The journey to the market is a task in itself. If you live in Tenochtitlan, you walk along raised causeways, the stone cool underfoot, the air carrying the scent of water and reeds from the surrounding lake. If you're from a village, you might paddle a canoe, your arms straining against the current, or carry a heavy load on your back, secured with a tumpline across your forehead. The load perhaps maize, feathers, or pottery digs into your shoulders, a reminder of the labor that defines your life. The market is a necessity, a place to exchange your goods for what you need to survive: food, cloth, tools. Tlatelolco is overwhelming, even for those born to it. Stalls line the open plaza, their awnings of woven palm shielding vendors from the sun. Goods are everywhere, baskets of maize, beans, and squash. Piles of cacao beans, their bitter scent mingling with the sweetness of honey. Feathers in vibrant greens and reds. And obsidian blades, their edges glinting like polished glass. Vendors shout their wares, turkeys cluck, dogs bark, and the air hums with the haggling of prices. You navigate the crowd, your senses assaulted by the colors, smells, and sounds. your heart racing as you try to keep your wits. Bartering is an art, and you're no master. The Aztecs used no coins. Cacao beans or cotton cloaks served as currency, their value shifting with supply and demand. Imagine offering a basket of maize for a clay pot, only to be met with a raised eyebrow and a counteroffer you can't afford. A seasoned trader, her voice sharp and her eyes keen, might outmaneuver you, leaving you with less than you hoped. Mistakes are costly. A bad trade could mean hunger for your family, and there's no room for error in a world where every resource is precious. The market is not just about trade. It's a social hub, a place where news spreads and alliances form. You overhear gossip about a neighboring city's tribute demands or a priest's prophecy, the words blending with the clatter of pottery and the laughter of children darting through the crowd. Yet danger lurks. Thieves weave through the chaos, their hands quick to snatch a pouch of cacao beans. Market overseers, stern and watchful, enforce order, but their presence is a reminder of the hierarchy that governs your life. As a commoner, you're always one misstep from trouble. Life beyond the market is no less demanding. If you're a farmer, your days are spent in the Chinampas, the floating gardens that feed the city. You dig canals, pile mud into plots, and plant maize, your back aching under the sun. If you're a woman, you weave cloth or grind maize, your hands sore from hours at the loom or metate. Children help, carrying water or gathering reeds, their small hands learning the tasks that will define their lives. The air is filled with the scent of earth, water, and the faint smoke of cooking fires, a constant reminder of the labor that sustains you. The day ends as the sun dips below the horizon, the market quieting as vendors pack their goods. You return home, your arms heavy with what you've bartered. A few tortillas, a small pot, perhaps a handful of cacao beans. The night is cool, the stars bright above the city, and you lie on your reed mat, the sounds of the market still echoing in your mind. Survival here requires sharpness, strength, and luck qualities you'd need to cultivate quickly. As the market fades, let's shift to the life of one person whose story reflects the challenges of this vibrant world. Let your thoughts drift to a small Chinampa on the outskirts of Tenochtitlán in the year 1490, where the air smells of wet earth and blooming marigolds. Here we meet Tlacaelel, a commoner farmer whose life is a quiet thread in the tapestry of the Aztec Empire. Imagine walking beside him, your feet sinking into the soft mud of the Chinampa as his story unfolds like the slow ripple of water in a canal. Tlacaelel's life is not one of glory, but of endurance, a reflection of the countless others who worked the land to feed a civilization. Tlacaelel was born in 1465 in a modest adobe house surrounded by the floating gardens of Tlatelolco. His father, a farmer, taught him to tend the Chinampas, piling mud and planting maize with care. His mother wove cloth, her loom a constant presence in their home, its rhythmic clack blending with the sound of water lapping at the garden's edge. Life was tied to the lake and the land, its rhythms dictated by the seasons wet and dry, and the demands of tribute to the city's rulers. By age 10, Tlacaelel was working alongside his father, his hands learning the feel of a wooden digging stick as he planted seeds in the rich black soil. The Chinampas were a marvel, built from layers of mud and reeds, their surfaces green with maize, beans, and squash. The work was grueling, digging canals, hauling water, weeding under the relentless sun. The air was heavy with the scent of mud and vegetation, the water cool against his feet. Tlacaelel learned to read the sky clouds meant rain. A clear dawn promised a good day for planting. At 16, Tlacaelel married Xochitl, a weaver from a neighboring Chinampa. Their wedding was simple, held in the village square with a priest offering blessings to the gods. Xochitl wore a hoop-hill embroidered with flowers, her hair adorned with marigolds, their scent sweet in the warm air. They moved into a small house, its walls plastered white, its roof of reeds rustling in the breeze. Their life together was one of shared labor. Tlacaelel farmed while Xochitl wove cloth for tribute and trade, her fingers nimble as she worked the loom. The Chinampas demanded constant care. Tlacaelel spent his days planting, weeding, and harvesting, his back aching from hours bent over the soil. The crops maize, beans, amaranth were the family's lifeline, but a portion went to local noble as tribute, carried to the city in canoes. A bad season with too much rain or not enough could mean hunger. One year, a flood swamped the Chinampas, the water muddy and the crops lost. The family survived on stored maize and wild greens, their meals thin, the air heavy with worry. Children brought both joy and responsibility. Tlacaelel and Xochitl had 3, though one was lost to fever, a quiet sorrow that lingered in their home. The surviving children helped in the fields or carried water, their laughter a bright note in the daily grind. Tlacaelel taught his son to plant, showing him how to space the seeds, while Xochitl taught her daughter to weave, her hands guiding the shuttle. The air in the house carried the scent of maize and smoke, the fire a constant presence. The market was a weekly ritual. Tlacaelel would load his canoe with maize or amaranth, paddling to Tlatelolco to barter. The market was a challenge. Vendors were sharp, and a poor trade could leave him short. He learned to haggle, offering maize for salt or cloth, his voice steady but his heart racing. The air was alive with the smells of chili, cacao, and roasting meat, but temptation was dangerous. Every cacao bean was needed for the family's survival. Tlacaelel's life was not without moments of light. Festivals brought the village together, with music from flutes and drums, the air rich with the scent of copal incense. He and Xochitl would dance, their steps slow and rhythmic, the community a source of strength. At home, evenings were spent by the fire, telling stories of the gods Quetzalcoatl, Tlaloc, or sharing a rare treat like a honey-dipped tortilla. These moments were fleeting, but they carried Tlacaelel through the harder days. By his 40s, Tlacaelel's body bore the marks of his labor, his hands calloused, his shoulders stooped from years of digging. He died in 1510. Before the Spanish arrived, his life unrecorded, but vital to the empire's heart. His family carried on, their survival his legacy. As Tlacaelel's story fades, let's shift to the mysteries and traces of this world, uncovered by those who seek to understand it. Imagine standing on the shores of Lake Texcoco in modern-day Mexico, where archaeologists sift through the earth, unearthing the remnants of Tenochtitlán. The year is now, but your mind lingers in 1500, where the air was alive with the scent of flowers and the hum of a city at its peak. The Aztecs left a rich legacy, their culture vibrant, but their daily lives often a mystery, pieced together from ruins and artifacts. Let's explore this world, its traditions, and the traces it left behind, letting their stories settle like dust in a temple's shadow. Tenochtitlan was a marvel, a city built on an island, its canals and causeways a testament to Aztec ingenuity. Excavations like those at the Templo Mayor reveal its scale temples soaring, their stones stained with offerings, and markets sprawling with goods. Ordinary people lived in adobe houses, their walls smooth and white, their floors of packed earth. Artifacts tell their story: clay pots with traces of maize, obsidian tools sharp enough to cut flesh, and woven mats, their fibers worn but intricate. The air in these homes carried the scent of smoke and chili, a reminder of the life within. The culture was one of ritual and community. Religion shaped every aspect of life, with gods like Huitzilopochtli demanding offerings to ensure the sun's rise. Commoners participated in festivals, their voices joining in chants as priests burned copal, its sweet smoke curling skyward. Music was everywhere: drums, flutes, rattles, its rhythms pulsing through markets and ceremonies. Dance was a communal act, the steps slow and deliberate, the air alive with the sound of feet on stone. These rituals were a bond, tying people to each other and the divine. Archaeology uncovers the daily lives of commoners. In Xochimilco, Chinampas yield tools digging sticks, hoes worn smooth by use. Pottery shards decorated with simple patterns show what was eaten: maize, beans, squash, sometimes turkey or fish. Jewelry like jade beads or shell pendants hints at moments of adornment even among the poor. A child's toy, a small clay figure found in a house's rubble, speaks of play amid labor. These finds are whispers, telling of lives lived in the shadow of temples. Mysteries linger in this world. Why were some houses abandoned, their contents left behind? Burials offer clues: bodies laid with care, surrounded by offerings of food or tools, suggest a belief in an afterlife. A cache of obsidian blades buried under a floor might have been an offering to the gods or a hidden treasure. The threat of sacrifice, though rare for commoners, hung over the city, its shadow felt in quiet moments. The air carried the scent of blood from distant altars, a reminder of the gods' demands. The market was the heart of Aztec culture, a place where goods and ideas flowed. Excavations reveal its scale stone platforms for stalls, canals for canoes, even weights for measuring cacao beans. The market was a microcosm of the empire, where farmers, artisans, and traders met, their voices blending in a symphony of trade. Yet it was also a place of tension, where a wrong move could mean loss or punishment. The overseer's presence, their eyes sharp, ensured order in the chaos. The Aztecs' world was one of balanced beauty and hardship, community and hierarchy. Festivals brought joy, with feasting and dancing, the air rich with the smell of roasted maize and flowers. Yet daily life was a struggle, each day a negotiation with the gods and the land. As we leave these traces behind, let's shift to the world of the elite, whose lives contrasted sharply with those of the commoners. Picture yourself standing before a grand palace in Tenochtitlán, its walls adorned with carvings of serpents and gods, the air scented with copal and blooming flowers. The year is 1500, and this is the home of a Pipiltin, an Aztec noble, whose life stands in stark contrast to that of farmers like Tlacaelel. The palace is a world of wealth, yet its own burdens weigh heavy. Let's explore the lives of these elites, their routines, and the divide that separated them from the commoners, letting their story unfold like a tapestry in a sunlit courtyard. The Pipiltin, let's call him Cuauhtémoc, was a noble born into privilege, his status inherited or earned through service to the emperor. His palace was grand, its rooms spacious, with walls painted in bright reds and blues. The air was warm, scented with incense and the faint sweetness of fruit from a private garden. Cuauhtémoc's day began later than a farmer's, perhaps at sunrise, rising from a raised platform covered with cotton mats and jaguar pelts. His clothes were fine cloaks of woven feathers, sandals of soft leather, and jewelry of jade and gold, their weight a symbol of his rank. Breakfast was a feast compared to Tlacaelel's: tortillas with avocado, turkey stew with chili, and a drink of frothed cacao, its bitterness softened with honey. Servants, often slaves or commoners, prepared the meal, their presence a constant reminder of the hierarchy. Cuauhtémoc's role was not to labor, but to govern, overseeing tribute collection, judging disputes, or advising the emperor. His days were spent in the palace or temple, the air filled with the murmur of scribes recording on bark paper or the chants of priests. The noble's household was a world apart. His wife, perhaps named Malinali, managed the home, supervising weavers and cooks. Her hupil was embroidered with intricate patterns, her hair adorned with feathers. She oversaw feasts, ensuring the table reflected their status dishes of tamales, fish, and exotic fruits like pineapple, their colors vibrant. The air carried the scent of spices and flowers, a contrast to the smoky simplicity of Tlacaelel's hut. Their children were educated in the Comicac, a school for nobles, learning astronomy, history, and ritual, their minds shaped for leadership. The contrast with commoner life was stark. Where Tlacaelel's family lived in a single-room adobe house, Cuauhtémoc's palace had courtyards and private chambers. Where Tlacaelel's meals were sparse, Cuauhtémoc's were abundant, with servants to serve and clean. Yet both faced pressures, Tlacaelel to survive, Cuauhtémoc to maintain his status. A failed harvest could strain the noble's wealth as tribute dwindled. Political intrigue was a constant threat, the emperor's favor fickle. Even nobles faced sacrifice if they fell from grace, though such fates were rare. Slaves bridged these worlds, their lives harder than Tlacaelel's. They worked in Cuauhtémoc's fields or kitchens, their days filled with grinding maize or carrying water, the air heavy with sweat and smoke. Their meals were scraps, their beds reed mats on the floor. Yet they were part of the household, their labor essential, their presence a reminder of the empire's hierarchy. Cuauhtémoc's life was one of power but also duty. He was expected to lead, to uphold the god's will, and to serve the emperor. His wealth was a shield, but not absolute. His status depended on tribute and alliances. As we leave his palace, let's shift to the tools and technologies that shaped the Aztec world, the inventions that sustained both noble and commoner. Imagine standing in a Chinampa, the year 1500, where the air smells of wet earth and the water laps gently at the edges of the plot. The Aztecs were masters of ingenuity, their tools and technologies simple, yet vital, shaping the lives of farmers like Tlacaelel and nobles like Cuauhtémoc. From the floating gardens to the obsidian blades, these tools were the backbone of their world, each one a partner in survival. Let's explore this world of craft and invention, letting its rhythm settle like the steady flow of a canal. The Chinampa was the heart of Aztec agriculture, a marvel of engineering. Picture Tlacaelel piling mud and reeds to create a floating garden, its surface rich with maize and beans. The work was labor-intensive, requiring wooden digging sticks and hoes, their handles worn smooth by use. Canals surrounded the plots, their water diverted with sluices to control flooding. The air was heavy with the scent of mud and vegetation, this system a testament to the Aztecs' mastery of their environment. Obsidian was the material of choice for tools, its volcanic glass sharper than any metal. Knives, scrapers, and spear points were crafted with care, their edges gleaming in the sun. Tlacaelel used an obsidian blade to cut maize stalks, its precision unmatched, though it could shatter if mishandled. The air carried the faint mineral smell of worked stone, a reminder of the skill behind each tool. For nobles, obsidian was also decorative. Inlaid in ceremonial objects, its surface polished to a mirror-like sheen. Weaving was another cornerstone, especially for women. Xochitl's loom was a simple frame of wood, its threads stretched tight to create cloth. The backstrap loom, tied to the weaver's waist, allowed mobility, its rhythm a steady pull and push. Cotton and magway fibers were spun with a spindle, the air filled with the soft whir of the tool. The resulting cloth, plain for commoners, vibrant for nobles, was essential for clothing and tribute, its texture a constant in daily life. Cooking relied on basic but effective tools. The metate, a flat stone for grinding maize, was a woman's domain, its surface worn from years of use. Xochitl would kneel, her hands pressing a mano to crush the grains, the air thick with the scent of maize and effort. Clay pots, fired in open kilns, held stews or tamales, their surfaces blackened by the fire. Comals, flat griddles, roasted tortillas, their smoky aroma a staple in every home. Transportation was another feat. Canoes, carved from single logs, glided through the canals, their paddles dipping rhythmically into the water. Tlacaelel used one to carry crops to market, the air cool with the lake's breeze. On land, goods were carried with tumplins, the weight borne on the forehead, a strain that left muscles aching. Roads and causeways connected the city, their stones smooth underfoot, a marvel of construction. These technologies came with risks. A broken tool could halt work, a flooded chinampa could ruin a crop. Obsidian blades could cut flesh as easily as maize, and with no doctors, healing relied on herbs and prayers. Fire, used for cooking and crafting, could spread quickly, its smoke a constant danger. Yet these tools were the foundation of Aztec life, each one a link in the chain of survival. As we leave this world of craft, let's shift to the customs and traditions that gave meaning to Aztec life, binding them to their gods and their community. Picture yourself seated in a village square, the year 1500, where the air is warm and the scent of copal incense drifts from a nearby altar. The Aztecs lived by rituals, their days woven with traditions that honored the gods and strengthened their community. For commoners like Tlacaelel, these customs were a constant, a way to find order in a world of labor and uncertainty. Let's wander through these rituals, letting their rhythm soothe your mind like the beat of a sacred drum. Religion was the heart of Aztec life, its rituals shaping every moment. Each month brought a festival, from the planting season to the harvest, each dedicated to a god like Tlaloc or Totec. Commoners joined in, offering maize or flowers at altars, their voices rising in chants. The air was thick with the sweet smoke of copal, burned in clay censers, and the sound of flutes and drums filled the night. These ceremonies were a plea for rain, for crops, for the sun to rise, a collective act of faith. Family rituals were equally important. Births were celebrated with offerings to the gods, a newborn's name chosen by a priest based on the day's omens. The air in the house carried the scent of flowers and incense. The family gathered to welcome the child. Weddings like Tlacaelel and Xochitl's were modest but meaningful, with a priest tying the couple's cloaks together, symbolizing their bond. The feast that followed was simple tortillas, beans, perhaps a turkey shared with neighbors, the air warm with laughter. Funerals were somber, a way to honor the dead and ensure their journey to the afterlife. A commoner's body was cremated, the ashes buried with offerings, a clay pot, a few cacao beans. The air was heavy with the smell of smoke and the quiet murmur of prayers. Nobles had grander rites, but for all, death was a transition, the soul guided by the gods. The community gathered, sharing food and memories, their presence a comfort in the face of loss. Daily life was filled with smaller customs. Meals were a ritual. The family gathered around a low table, sharing tortillas and chili. The act of eating was a moment of connection, the air rich with the scent of maize and smoke. Offerings were made daily, a pinch of food left at an altar, a prayer whispered to the hearth god. Superstitions guided actions. A broken pot could bring bad luck, a dream of a jaguar might warn of danger. These beliefs were a comfort, a way to navigate an uncertain world. Festivals were the highlight, bringing the community together. The new fire ceremony every 52 years was a time of renewal, with all fires extinguished and a new one lit on a priest's chest. The air was alive with anticipation, the city dark until the flame caught, its glow a promise of continuity. Commoners danced, their steps slow and rhythmic, the air scented with flowers and incense. These moments were a rare joy, a chance to forget the weight of tribute and labor. Education was a ritual too, though limited for commoners. Boys like Tlacaelel's son attended the Telpo Sikali, learning farming, fighting, and religion, their days filled with the sound of drums and the smell of sweat. Girls learned weaving and cooking, their hands guided by mothers like Xochitl. These traditions were a way to pass down knowledge, to prepare the next generation for their roles. These customs were the heartbeat of Aztec life, a way to honor the gods and strengthen the community. As we leave this world of ritual, let's shift to the food and sustenance that nourished the Aztecs, sustaining them through their daily toil. Imagine sitting in a small adobe house, the year 1500, where the air carries the warm, earthy scent of roasting maize and the faint spice of chili. Food was the foundation of Aztec life, a necessity that demanded skill and labor. For commoners like Tlacaelel and Xochitl, meals were simple, shaped by the Chinampas and the seasons, yet they were a source of comfort, a moment to pause in a life of work. Let's explore the tastes and textures of their table, letting the details settle gently in your mind. Maize was the cornerstone of the Aztec diet, its golden kernels ground into flour for tortillas. Xochitl would kneel at the metate, her hands pressing the mano to crush the maize, the air filled with its starchy scent. Tortillas were cooked on a comal, their edges crisping over the fire, their taste plain but sustaining. They were eaten at every meal, often paired with beans, boiled until soft, or squash, its flesh sweet when roasted. Chili peppers added heat, their sharp bite a constant in every dish. Vegetables came from the Chinampas or markets. Amaranth, its tiny seeds nutty and rich, was a staple, boiled into porridge or shaped into cakes. Tomatoes, tomatillos, and apples, cactus paddles added variety, their flavors bright and tangy. Herbs like epazote or cilantro, gathered from gardens, brought depth, their scent rising as a stew simmered. The air in the house was a blend of smoke and spice, a reminder of the effort behind each meal. Protein was scarce for commoners. Turkeys raised in pens were eaten on special occasions, their meat roasted or stewed, the air rich with their savory aroma. Dogs bred for food were another source, their flesh tough but nourishing. Fish from the lake or insects like grasshoppers, roasted until crisp, were rare treats, their taste unfamiliar but valued. Frogs and algae scooped from the lake added variety, their textures soft and slippery. Cacao was a luxury, its beans ground into a bitter drink for nobles or used as currency by commoners. Tlacaelel might trade for a small amount, frothing it with water and chili for a festival. Pulque, fermented from the maguey plant, was more common, its milky tang a mild intoxicant. Water drawn from canals was drunk with caution, often mixed with herbs to mask its taste. The air carried the yeasty smell of pulque or the faint sweetness of stored maize, a constant in the home. Food preparation was women's work, a task that filled the day. Grinding maize was arduous, the metate's weight a strain on the arms. Cooking was done over an open fire, the heat uneven, the pots heavy. Preservation was critical. Maize was dried and stored in clay jars, beans kept in woven baskets. Waste was unthinkable. Every kernel was used, from maize husks for tamales to bones for broth. The air was a mix of smoke, chili, and the faint sweetness of stored fruit. Meals were a communal act. The family gathered around a mat, sharing a single pot or stack of tortillas. Conversation was quiet talk of the fields, the market, or the gods' demands. The act of eating was a pause, a moment of connection in a life of labor. Even in hunger, there was gratitude for what was on the table, each bite a small victory against the uncertainties of the world. As we leave the Aztec table, let's shift to the challenges and dangers that shaped their lives, from the perils of the land to the threats that lingered in the shadows. Imagine walking through the canals of Tenochtitlán at dusk, the year 1500, where the air is cool and the distant chant of priests echoes from a temple. Life for commoners like Tlacaelel was a constant negotiation with danger, disease, labor, and the ever-present will of the gods. These challenges were woven into their days, their impact felt in the quiet moments of fear and loss. Let's explore these perils, letting their weight settle gently in your thoughts, like rain on a reed roof. The environment was a primary challenge. The Chinampas, though fertile, were vulnerable to floods or drought. A heavy rainy season could swamp the plots, washing away maize, while a dry spell could crack the earth, leaving crops withered. Tlacaelel would watch the sky, his heart heavy as clouds gathered or failed to appear. The air carried the scent of mud or dust, a reminder of nature's power. Hunger was a constant threat. The family stores of maize and beans stretched thin in lean times. Disease was another shadow, its reach swift and unforgiving. Without sanitation or medicine, infections spread quickly in the crowded city. Fevers, dysentery, or smallpox introduced later by the Spanish could devastate a family. Imagine Xochitl tending to a child, her hands pressing a cloth soaked in herbal water, the air heavy with the scent of feverfew and worry. Wounds from obsidian tools could fester, and childbirth was risky, its outcome uncertain. The air carried the faint smell of illness, a constant fear. Labor itself was dangerous. Farming the Chinampas required strength, but a misstep in the muddy canals could lead to injury. Obsidian tools, though sharp, were brittle, their shards capable of deep cuts. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and earth, the work unrelenting. For women, grinding maize was a strain, the metate's weight wearing on the body. Accidents were common of fall, a burn from the fire, and healing relied on herbs and prayers, their efficacy a matter of hope. The social order brought its own perils. Commoners owed tribute to nobles, paid in crops, cloth, or labor. Failure to deliver could mean punishment, fines, enslavement, or worse. The threat of sacrifice, though rare for commoners, loomed large, its shadow felt in the city's temples. The air carried the distant scent of blood, a reminder of the gods' demands. Nobles, too, faced risks. Political intrigue could lead to exile or death, their status no shield against divine judgment. Crime was a concern in the markets and streets. Thieves targeted unwary traders, their hands quick to steal cacao beans or cloth. Market overseers enforced order, but their justice was harsh. A thief could lose a hand or face enslavement. Violence was rare but present, often tied to disputes over goods or land. The air in the market was tense, the crowd's energy a mix of commerce and caution. War was another threat. The Aztec Empire was built on conquest, and commoners like Tlacaelel could be called to fight in the flower wars, ritual battles to capture prisoners. Armed with a wooden club or obsidian-tipped spear, he faced danger with little training, the air thick with dust and fear. Defeat could mean capture or death, victory a chance to rise in status. Yet for most, war was a duty, not a choice, its weight heavy on the heart. Despite these dangers, Aztecs endured, their resilience a quiet strength. Neighbors shared food, families supported each other, and rituals offered hope. The air carried the scent of copal and maize, a reminder of the community that sustained them. As we leave this world of peril, let's shift to the education and learning that offered a glimmer of understanding in a complex world. Imagine sitting in a Tlacaelel, a school for commoner boys, the year 1500, where the air smells of sweat and the faint smoke of a nearby fire. Education in the Aztec Empire was a privilege, shaped by class and purpose, yet it held a quiet power, a way to navigate the gods' will and society's demands. For commoners like Tlacaelel's son, learning was practical, tied to survival, while nobles pursued deeper knowledge. Let's explore this world of education, letting its faint light settle in your mind. For commoners, education was informal, learned through work. Tlacaelel taught his son to farm, showing him how to plant maize or dig canals, the air heavy with the scent of earth. Xochitl taught her daughter to weave, her hands guiding the loom's shuttle, the rhythm steady and familiar. Children learned by doing, carrying water, tending turkeys, or gathering reeds, their knowledge shaped by the needs of the Chinampa and home. The air carried the sounds of labor, the lessons unspoken but vital. Formal education for commoner boys began around age 15 at the Tlacaelel, a local school run by priests or warriors. Here, Tlacaelel's son learned farming techniques, basic astronomy to track planting seasons, and the skills of a warrior handling a macoawitl, a wooden club studded with obsidian. The air was filled with the sound of drums and the shouts of practice, the lessons rigorous but practical. Religion was central, with chants and rituals memorized to honor the gods, their words a rhythm that bound the community. Girls had less formal education, learning domestic skills at home. Xochitl's daughter mastered the metate and loom, her hands calloused but skilled. Some girls attended temple schools, learning songs and dances for rituals, the air scented with copal and flowers. These lessons prepared them for marriage or service to the gods, their roles defined by tradition. The air in the home carried the scent of maize and herbs, a reminder of the knowledge passed from mother to daughter. Nobles like Cuauhtémoc's children attended the Comacac, a school for the elite. Here they studied astronomy, history, and theology, learning to read pictographic codices, their pages painted on bark paper. The air was heavy with the smell of ink and leather, the lessons preparing them for leadership or priesthood. Scribes recorded tribute or myths, their work a bridge to the divine. For nobles, knowledge was power, a way to uphold the empire's order. Books were rare, made of bark or deerskin, their pictographs a language of symbols. Commoners rarely saw them, their knowledge oral, passed through songs and stories. Priests or elders recited histories or omens, their voices a steady cadence by the fire. The air carried the scent of smoke and the weight of tradition, each tale a lesson in survival or faith. Education was not without challenges. Schools were strict, with corporal punishment for mistakes. Resources where scarce codices were precious, and teachers were often priests with other duties. For commoners, work often interrupted learning, the fields calling louder than the classroom. Yet knowledge was a spark, a way to understand the gods or improve a harvest. A boy who excelled might become a warrior or priest, a girl a respected weaver, their skills a quiet defiance against their lot. As we leave this world of learning, let's shift to the leisure and entertainment that offered Aztecs a moment of joy, a chance to rest in a life of labor. Picture yourself in a village square at dusk, the year 1500, where the air is warm and the sound of drums pulses through the crowd. For Aztecs like Tlacaelel, leisure was a rare escape, a moment to find joy amid the demands of work and ritual. These pastimes, from music to games, were a celebration of community, a chance to connect and dream. Let's wander through these moments, letting their warmth settle like the glow of a festival fire. Festivals were the heart of Aztec leisure, held monthly to honor the gods. The Feast of Tlacaelel, dedicated to Tezcatlipoca, brought music, dance, and feasting. The air rich with the scent of tamales and copal. Commoners like Tlacaelel joined in, their steps synchronized in slow, rhythmic dances, the ground soft underfoot. Flutes, rattles, and drums filled the air, their melodies weaving through the crowd. These moments were a release, a chance to forget tribute and toil, to feel the gods' presence. Music and dance were daily joys, too. In the evenings, families gathered to sing, their voices blending with the crackle of the fire. Flutes made of clay or bone played haunting tunes, while drums set the rhythm for impromptu dances. The air carried the scent of smoke and maize, the music a comfort after a long day. In markets, musicians performed, their songs drawing crowds, the air alive with laughter and chatter. Games were another pastime, especially for men and boys. Tlachtli, the ritual ball game, was played on stone courts, though commoners had simpler versions in village squares. Players struck a rubber ball with their hips, the air filled with shouts and the thud of the ball. The game was both sport and ritual, its outcome tied to the gods' favor. Children played with clay figures or spun tops, their laughter a bright note in the day. Storytelling was a cherished tradition. done by firelight in the home or square. Elders recounted myths of Quetzalcoatl's journey or the creation of the world, their words a steady cadence. The air was thick with the scent of burning reeds, the stories a way to teach and entertain. Riddles and poems were shared, their cleverness sparking smiles or debate, a moment of connection in a demanding life. The natural world offered leisure, too. Families might swim in the lake, the water cool against their skin, or gather flowers for offerings, their petals bright in the sun. Markets were a source of entertainment, with jugglers or acrobats performing, the air rich with the smell of roasted maize and chili. These moments were fleeting, a chance to feel the breeze or taste a rare treat, like a honey-dipped fruit. Nobles had grander pastimes, poetry contests, feasts with exotic foods, but commoners found joy in simpler ways. A shared meal, a song, a game with children, these were the threads that wove moments of light into their lives. The air carried the sounds of laughter and music, a reminder of what made life worth living. As we leave this world of joy, let's shift to a final reflection, a gentle closing that ties together the threads of Aztec life. As the sounds of the Aztec world fade, the hum of the market, the beat of drums, the scent of copal and maize, let your mind rest in the quiet that follows. We've wandered through the lives of commoners like Tlacaelel, from the chaotic markets to the fertile Chinampas, from the weight of ritual to the fleeting joys of a festival. Their world was one of labor and faith, where every day was a balance between survival and devotion. Imagine yourself now in a soft, warm bed, the air still and the challenges of their time far away. Their lives, though distant, remind us of the resilience that carries us through, the quiet strength that binds us to each other. Let the details slip away like ripples on a calm lake. The canals, the firelight, the taste of tortillas and chili, they fade into the background, leaving only the peace of this moment. You've journeyed through a world that shaped a civilization, and now it's time to rest. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and let the rhythm of history lull you into sleep, safe in the calm of now.